All right. We're back in Luke, chapter 13. We'll pick up today in around verse 20. That's where we're going to be starting in chapter 13. But to kind of bring us up to where we are now, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, he's in the synagogue, and what does he do? He heals this woman, right? Remember her? She was a crippled woman, bent over double for many, many years. And the leader of the synagogue, and I just think pastor, right? You know, the head guy at the synagogue, he rebukes Jesus. I mean, he takes him to task for, we've got 6 days to do that healing. We ought not to be doing it today. Now, he didn't quite speak like that, but that's what he's saying. And Yeshua puts him in his place right there in front of everybody. And then everybody is happy that this woman is healed, and they're excited and they're joyous. And so here's the point. Yeshua has everyone's attention. Right? There's that little back and forth, everyone's paying attention, now they're all happy. And so because he has their attention, he decides, hey, this is a good teaching moment. Right? And that's what's about to happen here. I think I said verse 20, but we're going to start in 18. So, then he said, unto what is the kingdom of God like, and whereunto shall I resemble it? Now, everybody wants to know what the kingdom of God is like, right? I mean, everybody does. I do. I think even non-believers want to know that. Well, a kingdom is the king and his dominion. And so a kingdom needs a king, and he then has a dominion, and that is the kingdom. But I think because we really have to do this to get here. Picture in your mind, and I was just telling Brother Cole, we were watching that movie. Picture in your mind a medieval kingdom. Okay, in your mind, just kind of picture one. There's a castle up on the hill. There's a king. Right? The king's in charge, and he's got his kingdom. And let's say he is a very powerful and very strong king. And let's say he's also a kind and benevolent and gracious king. So we just kind of put that in context. And he deals with his people, his subjects, the people in his kingdom. He deals with them firmly but fairly. And so, okay, we've got this little thing going on in our head with this medieval kingdom. Even in that medieval kingdom, though, there's going to be highwaymen, right? There's going to be guys who hang out on the side of the road and rob the passersby on the edges of this good, well-running kingdom. You know, they used to do it then with swords. They do it now with Glocks. I mean, those guys exist out there. Now, these highwaymen, they're going to be pursued. They're going to be caught. Then they're going to be punished. But they're out there in this kingdom, and stuff is going on. And that is what's important for us to keep in mind as we go forward. Because Yeshua says, what is the kingdom of God like? What shall I compare it to? Okay, so just kind of keep that in your mind. Here we go, verse 19. It is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and he cast into his garden, and it grew and it waxed a great tree. It means it grew bigger and bigger, a great tree, and the fowls of the air lodged in the branches of it. Now, a mustard seed is as big as, it's as small as a period, like a period in a book. And some periods in some books are bigger than mustard. We had a whole bunch, we still have mustard seed that we're going to try and turn into mustard. And mustard plants, at least in my experience at my place, they grow about this high. And they're kind of spindly, and if you let them go, and like that. But really the mustard that you're harvesting is down pretty low. But if you let them go to seed, they get about this high. And so that's not what Yeshua's talking about. He's talking about this little seed, and you plant it because the mustard seeds are small. But then this huge tree grows out of it, and the fowls come and they lodge in it. They live in this tree. Now, people see this as an analogy, and it is an analogy that he's using, but people see it as, okay, there's this little seed, and it's planted out there, and this huge thing grows up, this big tree, and so they say, all right, so the kingdom, it gets started small, and it grows really large, right? Because he's talking about the kingdom of God. You got to keep bringing that back. He's using this as an example of the kingdom of God, and it grows from that little seed into a big tree so that the fowl can live in it, right? No. It grows from that little seed into a big tree, and therefore the fowl live in it. See, that's not what it says. In the King James Version, there's a semicolon there. We don't read that this tree grows large enough for the fowls to live in it. We don't read that it grows so large that the fowls can live in it. That's not what it says. The purpose of the birds in this analogy, here's news for a lot of Christians and a lot of believers. The purpose of the birds in this analogy is not to point out how big the mustard tree is. See, people think, oh, this thing was so big that the birds can therefore come live in it, because birds can't live in a regular mustard plant. That's not what the purpose of the birds are in this story. I don't want to go into too much detail on birds today, but in many cases in the Word, birds are used in a bad context. They represent evil. It's an interesting study on why Elijah was fed from the mouth of a raven. And that's a study that y'all should do on your own, because we're not going to go there today, but it's worthy. And so the point is that, yes, the kingdom of God springs forth from a very small seed, a seed of faith, a seed of belief, of hope. And it grows huge, okay? That happens, but, that's good, that's cool that it starts so small and it gets so big. But even and still, the birds come and watch it. Even though it is this big, great kingdom, the birds, the fowls, come and live in it. That's the point that he's making. Now, even in a well-run medieval kingdom, a big one, there's bad guys out there. There are highwaymen in the kingdom. Let's go on. You'll see where we're going with this when we come back. We're going to use a different analogy, as Jesus did. And again he said, whereunto shall I liken the kingdom of God? It is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. And so leaven is yeast, right? Brother Sean has this great idea, which I can't believe in 20 plus years of preparing I never heard of. When you pack your wheat, go ahead and throw some leaven in there with it, so you at least got it. Will it last that long in buckets? I don't know, but hey, it's worth a try. But we use leaven to make, you take some flour, you take some water, you take some yeast, some leaven, you mix it all together, and your dough rises, right? And that's leavened bread. And so he's talking about leaven. Now, unleavened bread has no yeast in it. There's no yeast in it. That's why we read about that this morning, right? About unleavened bread. Unleavened bread is quicker to make, which is one reason the Israelites made unleavened bread on that very first Passover, because they were fixing to flee. Now, we know the Bible is written on a couple levels, and there are, of course, other reasons for that, some of which we're going to get into today. So the kingdom of God is like leaven. This woman hid this leaven in 3 measures of meal until it was all leavened, and there's leaven all through it. Right? That's the point that we're getting at. Now, this woman, she just took this leaven and she put it into the meal, right? This woman said she's there with her girlfriends and she's making bread in the story. And she goes, hey, hold on a second, y'all. I got to go put the leaven in these measures of meal because I'm going to make some bread. So y'all just talk amongst yourselves, right? That's all it says. This woman stood up. She goes, hey, over here. I am putting leaven in the bread. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going over here right now. I'm going to stick leaven in the bread. It's not what it says. It says she hid the leaven in the bread. We're coming back to that. I'm going to take a little sidetrack. My daughter has a friend who was just at her house the other day. And her friend is a really smart girl. And she joined the Navy. And because she's so smart, they made her a cryptographer or a crypto analyst or something like that. She basically is a code breaker, right? She listens to codes and breaks them out. And she's a brilliant young lady, and they only put smart people into that. But she works with breaking codes. And cryptography is the art, it's the science, it's the process of working with and breaking out codes. Okay, that's cryptography. We say in the military, and they say it in the IT world now too, right? Encryption, right? Encryption is the process of putting something into a code, right? So we're going to put it into a code, and we call that encryption. Now, the word both of those words come from the Greek word kryptos, right? And those words, at their root, they have this Greek word called kryptos. And the word kryptos means to conceal or to mingle with something else. And so in cryptography, one mingles or one conceals the message that you're trying to send in a code, right? So other people can't see it. That's what you're doing in cryptography. Why does one do that? Why in cryptography does one put their message into a code? Why do they take it and put it in a manner that nobody else can see it? Because they don't want people to see it, right? If I'm going to send Brother Sean a message and I don't want anyone else to see it, I can put it into a code and send it, and even if somebody intercepts that message, they won't know what I'm saying to Sean. But he'll be able to open up, look at it, and he'll understand it if he knows the code. And so mostly they're trying to conceal it, they're trying to hide it, they're trying to keep it a secret from their enemy, right? When people put something, or their adversary, when they put something in a code. Now, I see a lot of furrowed brows up there because you guys are like, where are you going with this? Is the Most High God all about secrets? Is he all about keeping things concealed? Are we supposed to keep this secret and not tell people about it? Does he write this at a level that only Pastor Joe can understand, and I'll go ahead and crack the code and give it to you guys? No, right? Hide it under a bushel? No, I'm going to let it shine, right? He's not about putting things in code. He's not about hiding things. He's about showing things. And so there is nothing in here that we have to keep secret, not tell anybody else. Luke 8:17, you don't have to turn there. We read this a couple weeks ago. For nothing is secret. Nothing is kryptos. That's the word that's used. That shall not be made manifest. Neither is anything hid, apokryptos, that shall not be known and come abroad. See, keeping secrets is not how Yah operates. He does not conceal things like that from people. He tells us to let the light shine and so forth. And so why are we taking this sidetrack, Pastor Joe, into talking about codes and espionage and breaking codes and that kind of thing? It's because of the word kryptos. It's because of that word that means to hide or to conceal or to mix with something else. What is the kingdom of God like? Luke 13:21. It is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. That word hid is enkrypto. It's got the same roots. It means to conceal in something, to mingle one thing with another. See, many people mistakenly take this analogy that Yeshua is giving and say, all right, it's like the word, right? And we put the word out in the world and it continues to grow and blossom and get bigger like leaven does to bread, and it makes it get bigger. And that's a good thing, right? That's not what he's saying at all. That is not what